strengths, and in particular, the strengths that set them apart from their competitors. We're going to call these distinctive capabilities. Now, while this video is not going to be extensively long, the literature behind this, the theory, the actual practice of identifying competitive advantages or distinctive capabilities which lead to competitive advantages is really big. There's a lot of content that's associated with this topic in this area. But here's the idea: we want to have, we want to compete. We want to view our value proposition in perspective with the value propositions of our competitors through the eyes of our customers. So ultimately, there's a couple key ways that firms and organizations compete against each other. One is a cost-based method. One is a marketing kind of advantage method. And another, though, is a differentiation method where firms compete directly with each other based on how they create or solve a problem differently from each other. And those differences lie in how they're organized. So strategic fit is kind of broadly this idea that I want to express, where you have outside opportunities that present themselves in the marketplace combined with unique strengths that a firm has inside. So think about that SWOT analysis, think about the internal strengths and outside opportunities. When you put those two things together, then you can be very aggressive in the marketplace, and that makes a lot of sense. So firms have to understand, identify, and know what their internal strengths are, but they also need to cultivate and grow them as well. Strengths just don't happen, they are developed. And then apply them appropriately to the right opportunities that happen. And that's when a good strategic fit for a company in terms of a growth model happens. So this is, again, it's a really key concept to kind of think about how you compete and how firms can go together. So in marketing, there's a theory called resource advantage theory. It's actually an extension of what's called the resource-based theory of the firm. So RBT, resource-based theory of the firm. And the theory essentially comes down to this idea that companies and organizations are a collection of skill sets or a collection of abilities. And when you put abilities together, you get a bundle or a group of abilities, and that group or bundle of abilities is unique. It's unlike any other bundle that's out there. Now, in this literature, in this theory, the abilities and strengths and skills are also called or referred to as resources. And so that's why it's called resource advantage theory, or the resource-based theory of the firm. So resource advantage theory then, RA, says that organizations are composed of these unique bundles or sets of resources. Firms within the same industry compete with each other based on how they are distinct or different from each other. So in other words, one company's bundle is distinctly different from another company's bundle, and it's based on those differences that customers see the difference between one value proposition and another. So that's kind of the way this goes. Some bundles, as it turns out, perform better than others. And so the practice is then to create a bundle of skill sets that outperforms your competitor's bundle of skill sets in the unique market space that you are. So what is a resource? What is a skill set that is effective? And where do these resources come from, or what is their origin? Where do you find them in the company? So moving forward, those are the two questions we need to ask and answer as we go ahead. And so there's a framework, a couple frameworks you'll be familiar with, or you might be familiar with from management, the VRIO framework. There's also the VRIN framework. So the N and the O just kind of change a little bit between these two literature streams. But if a skill set that a company has, or resource, whichever terminology you want to use, if the skill set has come at a cost or is what we call valuable in the sense that it didn't come freely. It came at a cost. There was an investment. There was investment of time, energy, money. There was something that was given up in order to get it. And you can think of this as you had to make a choice to obtain this skill set. You made that choice. You had to forego other things with your money, time, and effort to obtain it. So the resource has some type of value in that sense. Okay, so that's the V. Okay, rare. Right. So the object, the item that you're focused on, has to be in limited supply. So it can't be something that's ubiquitous. In other words, it's everywhere. It has to be something that is in short supply to the extent that not every company or every organization can have it. It's limited. So it's a rare skill set. It's not something that everybody has. Okay, so it's not duplicatable that way. In fact, imperfectly imitable refers to that. Now, that's a big set of jumbled words, imperfectly imitable, simply meaning that it can't be copied like exactly. It can't be copied with another skill set. Another skill set can't replace it directly. So it's not replaceable. It's not only rare, it doesn't exist very often, but it's not something that you can just simply use another skill to duplicate. Okay. Last one here is it's non-substitutable. Non-substitutable. So it can't be copied and it can't be replaced. And those two go together. And again, the N gets changed a little bit in some other versions of the VRIN to VRIO. Kind of methodology, because in this case the I and the N are very similar to each other. So updated concepts of this are the VRIO framework. And if you want more information on some of this stuff in the early 90s, Jay Barney wrote a paper that's available to you on sustainable resources as they lead to competitive advantages. Now remember, we're focused on resources or skill sets that help you gain competitive advantages. So if you have a resource that meets these 4 criteria, then it can be leveraged to gain a competitive advantage. If you have a resource that doesn't meet all 4, then it may or may not let you stand apart or separate you from your competition. And so as a result, just as you can imagine, companies may only have 1 or 2 resources that truly meet all 4 of these standards. They're very hard standards to obtain. And so there's a lot of kind of effort and placement and thought put into it. The VRIO framework, again, similar setup here, and you can kind of pause this if you want to. But the last one deals with the organizational structure and the organization and how the resources are organized within the organization or within the firm. And do they work together? Are they synergized? Are they compatible with each other? And some elements like that. Okay, so yeah, if you want to go to this website, more information on VRIO, that's certainly something that you want to do. So the first question is, what is a resource? How would we define it? Well, it's a skill set that meets these 4 criteria. And in particular, if you use that non-substitutable, that imperfectly imitable, the rare, and the valuable, then that'll be a good guideline. And again, those criteria are very high to meet all 4, but if you have 1 or 2 resources that meet all 4, you will stand out in the marketplace, and you use those as your competitive advantage. It's what sets you apart from others. So you might ask the second question: where do these come from? Where do these resources emerge from? Where are they located? And so there's going to be 6 sort of broad areas that you might find some of these resources Okay, one would be physical resources. Okay, so physical infrastructure, your factory, your company, raw materials, laboratory, equipment. The story I often tell is for Boeing Airlines. Boeing at one point had the largest covered manufacturing space in the world. And as a result, they could build airplanes, because airplanes are big, in a unique way that allowed them to move the planes around or do however they did it operationally. The space, because they had such a large one, unlike any of their competitors, allowed them operational efficiencies. Imagine also a physical location for, say, a retail store that is located on a very busy corner of an intersection, and it gets a lot of traffic and visibility because of its location. So that's something that where the location is special. It's rare, it can't be copied, you can't substitute it for something else, other skill set, and so on. So it would be one of these things that meet those criteria, but also fall into the category of a physical element. If you have a special machine that fabricates a product that nobody else has, that you created, that would be a piece of equipment. Okay, so lots of examples here for physical resources. Okay, financial resources happen to be resources that are things like your ability to gain credit, or maybe you have a very, very efficient system, so your costs are really, really low, much better than your competitors as a result of the processes and efficiencies you have. Or maybe you have, you're a subsidiary, maybe your parent company has the ability to access you credit and money, access to capital markets, financial markets, those types of things. All of those can be leveraged as advantages in the marketplace. Legal. So in the legal space, there are lots and lots and lots of ways we can gain competitive advantages. Think about patents first and foremost. If you create an innovation and you patent it, it protects you legally from others, so others can't copy you. Others can't duplicate you. Others can't, you can be protected for a period of time, so you have exclusive access to the marketplace that your competitors don't have. That's a great example of a resource because it meets all those four criteria. Contracts that you have with your suppliers, especially if you have non-compete contracts where your suppliers can't supply your competitors. Contracts with spokespeople, celebrities, things like that, trademarks. Those are all legal instruments that protect you and create a resource for you. Others, organizational strengths. So part of that organization, the VRIO element, is kind of a routines, structure, competencies, the hierarchy. In particular here, I want to highlight culture. So every organization has a culture, and some cultures are drawn towards innovation. Some are drawn towards being aggressive in the marketplace. Some are drawn towards information sharing. Cultures and ethos and the way we make decisions can be a strength, right? It can be a way that we build on our human and interactive and interpersonal abilities, where some companies just don't structurally work well, others do. Tied into that a little bit is this idea of being able to use information. Companies that use information well, in other words, they can gather it, store it, structure it, analyze it, and then make decisions on it, outperform those that don't. They just simply do. So if you have a good information network and system within your organization, you can gain an advantage by doing that. So in other words, you gather information, you might know something about your customers that your competitors don't as a result of your ability to use information. All right, so again, another way we can form a resource. And the last one would be relational. So relationships are incredibly important with internal stakeholders, so among employees and across functional areas in the firm. They're incredibly important when you start dealing with interfirm relationships like you and your suppliers and your distributors and all the different companies and organizations you do business with in order to create value. And then finally, or two other ways, there's also other external stakeholders like the government, and organizations like that who you might not have contracts with, but you're still relating with them, have a relationship with them. And then finally, customers. Your relationship with customers and how you manage that and grow that and develop that leads to profitability. And your ability to serve customers in a relational way is an advantage, or could be an advantage, if you do it particularly well. It's a little harder because people shouldn't be able to copy it if it's a true advantage. But the whole point here is advantages can come in lots of different areas, but they have to meet the 4 criteria of VRIN, VRINO, or IO. So those 4 criteria have to hold true. Other examples of sources of competitive advantage where these resources could come from could be from marketing as well. So this is just a little informational sheet here where you have relational, legal, organizational, but we also have like this human advantage. And then in the bottom row, we have a lot of like marketing related things, product advantages, like how your product is built. And your ability to, again, add value to the customer, pricing, promotional, and also distribution advantages. Those 4 things are all marketing related advantages that you could have. And I would throw in one final one would be brand and brand equity. So some companies have a tremendous amount of brand equity, which in other words is like how strong your brand is. And the fact that you have an extremely strong brand protects you from a lot of trouble. It also allows you to charge a price premium. It creates loyalty and a lot of other really good things. Okay, so this whole discussion then is identifying the concept of resources or distinctive capabilities, things that set you apart from your competitors. So there's a framework then provided that allows you to test your resources or distinctive capabilities to confirm that they are in fact valuable, rare, can't be copied, can't be substituted for. And that's an important thing. And it also identifies where those come from. And the key here is all of these are so that you can leverage them in the marketplace to gain customers, to gain market share, to gain profitability. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.